Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a whole lot for subscribing to my channel, following me on all of my various social media handles, on Facebook, on Instagram, and those of you that normally visit my website also. I want to say thank you guys. So today I'm going to be showing you how to draft a straight pencil bustier gown. There is no joining. So, and this gown is just like a must know gown. What I mean by a must know how gown for anybody that is sewing. You know, most skirts and most gowns, you see, when you don't want to do a straight and pencil skirt, they will have to cut maybe from the waistline. They'll cut it, they'll do and the top bodies, and then do a skirt and then attach just to get a straight and pencil and bustier gown. No, on this class I'm going to be showing you how to draft a straight gown, and it's still going to be a bustier and it's going to be a pencil. You can incorporate this into a straight, that's a long gown. You can, I'm just going to give you the simplest pattern that will make it very easy for you to use for all of your other projects. So guys, if you are new to my channel, if this is your first time of coming across Stylish Naija YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you would hit on the subscribe button and then hit on the bell on the side just to get an update whenever I upload a new video. So let's just get started, guys. So I'm just gonna drop this and we're going to go straight to the point. I have two pattern papers here. This is for the back piece and then this is for the front piece. Most times, if those of you that have been following my channel, you know there's always a short way that I normally draft most of my pattern. I draft the front pattern and then I'll use it out to cut out the back pattern. It's always easier that way instead of starting afresh and then drafting the back pattern afresh. So for this class now, we're going to draft the front first and then we'll move. I'll place it on the back pattern to cut. I have some basic lines here for any bustier. There are some basic lines that we normally use for bustiers. This first line that I have here is the shoulder line. That's like for somebody that is just coming across something like this for a beginner. The first line that I have here is the shoulder line. From this shoulder line, which is my start line, I'm going to measure 10 inches. That is my bust line. That's my nipple point. I'm going to measure a video of how to take accurate body measurements. So when you watch it, you understand more for beginners. So this is my bust point, and then my under bust is 13. My waist line is 19 inches, and then between my waistline, which is 19 inches, between 19 inches, from the 19 inches you measure 9 inches. That's just like standard for you to measure out your hip line. The essence of this is when you place your hip line on this part, it normally makes it fit properly. The hip will not be up or it will not be down, so it's just going to fit properly. But for people that are very tall, you can use 10 inches. So this is 9 inches, and then the full length of my gown. I'm going to have to pull the pattern paper up and down so you'll be able to see it, so that the camera will capture it. This is the full length of my gown, which is 40 inches. So when I'm transferring to my fabric, I can add my allowance to it. So we're just going to get started. This pattern, you can decide to do it and you can use any bustier pattern of your choice. But for this, I'm going to use the neck dart. That is like the simplest bustier pattern ever. So, and it is really beginners friendly. So let's just use it for the sake of beginners. Maybe in all coming classes we can do the princess dart and then the neck dart. The first thing I'm going to do when cutting out a bustier is your bust span measurement, which is one nipple to another. And for this, the bust span is 4 inches. That's from one nipple to another. So the 4 inches, I'm going to measure it. It's going to run across all of my lines. The next thing now is for us to start imputing our dart lines, and then including the dart line, I'm going to come to my shoulder line. I'll measure 1 inch to my right hand side, and then I'll measure 1 inch to my left hand side. You can decide to use ½ inch, it will still work. this is 1 inch, 1 inch, and then I'm going to come to my under and bust line. I'll measure 1 inch to the right hand side like this, and then I'll measure 1 inch to the left hand side like this. We're going to connect and these lines now. We're going to connect from this point to this bust line, and then from this bust line to this 1 inch. That's this 1 inch, this 1 inch to this point, and then like this, and then this ½ inch to this bust point, and then to the 1 inch, and then we're going to take it down to the waistline. The waistline also, we're going to add 1 inch also. So the waistline also 1 inch to the right and then 1 inch to the left. So let's connect our lines now. So this part we're going to blend up this part properly. It's not well blended. So we're going to take this dark line now. We're just going to take it like this. So for this down part, you really don't need it to be darted. So I'm just going to try and blend it into the line like so, and then this also I'm going to try and blend into the hip line. I hope you see what I just undid. Okay. So we have our dart. So you just blend it into below the hip line. You just blend it like that. And that is that. The next thing we're going to do now, we're going to take out our full body measurement. The first measurement we're going to include is the shoulder measurement. You remember these 2 inches that we took out from here? We're going to include it. And the shoulder for this pattern is actually 14 inches. That's you divide 14 into 2, you have 7. This is the 7 inches here. And then remember to add these 2 inches, or else it will get truncated. This is the 2 inches, and then I'll add 1 inch. And you could decide to add your allowance to your pattern, or you can decide to add on the fabric. So let's just add on the pattern. I'll add another 1 inch for my stitching allowance, and then from this point I'm going to measure 8 inches, which I'm going to use for my armhole. I'm going to use for my armhole and line, and then I'll connect it like this. I'm just going to blend with my curve. Okay, we're done with that, and then you're going to include your part and your slope. That's your shoulder slope. I'll measure 1 inch to this point like this, and then I'll slope it from this point to the neckline point. I hope you are getting it. The next measurement we are going to include now is the bust measurement, and the bust for this dress is actually 36 inches. So when you divide 36 into 4, this measurement now you divide into 4. I have 9 inches. This is my we're going to start including the other measurements now. The first measurement that I'm going to include is the bust measurement, and the bust is 32. So when you divide 32 into 4, you actually have 8 inches. You're just going to come to your bust line like this, and then I'm going to include my 8 inches here. And you remember this inch, because when I cut, I'm going to lose at least 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to include that to this point now. I'll include 1/2 an inch, and then I'm going to add my allowance to it. I'm going to add 2.5 inches allowance. So from this bust point like this, I'm just going to dot it out like this, and then the under bust measurement is 28 inches. When you divide 28 into 4, you have 7 inches. We are going to include that, but you're going to remember this 1 inch that we took out for the dart. We're going to include that, and then I'm going to mark my under bust, which is 7 inches, and then these 2 inches I'll include, and then I'm going to add my allowance. So from this point, I'm just taking the mark like this. I'm bringing it close to this point. I always like taking it step by step. It makes it easier for you to understand. I'm just going to slant it to this point, and then before we continue to the waist line point, my waist measurement is 30 inches. When you divide 30 into 4, you have 7.5. And remember this allowance, this and that and point also. So we're going to add it now. And then add the allowance. Sorry, I keep saying allowance. Add the dart, the 2 inches for the dart. And then I'm going to add my allowance. From this point now, I'm just going to use dotted lines to curve it out for you to understand. The next measurement we are going to add now is the hip measurement, and on this hip part you notice it's just about 1 inch that came out of it because of the way I did the dart. So it's 1 inch we are going to add, and then my hip measurement is 40. You are going to measure out 40, which is 10 inches. This is 10 inches, and then remember to add this ½ inch allowance, and then you add your regular allowance. Depends on how many inches you normally use for your allowance. I'm going to curve it out now properly like this. So I just use my pattern curve to give it a really good curve. This actually helps to square. So when you get to the down part of your pattern, so I'm going to move my pattern now for you to see, because on the camera I could not capture everything. When you get to the down part, since it is a pencil gown, you can decide to reduce your hip and measurement by 2 inches. So we're going to use 8 inches instead of 10 inches that we use for the hip. You can, if you want it to be more pencil, you can, if there's any word like that, I really don't know, you can decide to make it slimmer, or if you want it wider, you can decide to make it wider. This is the 8 inches that I'm using. I'm reducing with 2 inches, and then I'm going to come like this with my, I'm just using dotted lines so it will be easy for you, and then you add your allowance to it. After marking, you add your 2 inches or 1 inch allowance, depends on how many inch allowance you are using. You can see our pattern. You see it's all laid out. The next thing, you can decide to include any neckline of your choice, but since this is a pattern, most times I usually don't include necklines to my patterns. It's after when I'm cutting on the fabric, that's when I normally include. But for those that don't know, I'm just going to do a simple round neckline. This is 3 inches by 3 inches. When done with the front pattern, like I said, I'll place it on top of the back pattern, and then I'll cut out the full block together at once. That's both the back and the front bodies. I'll cut them out first just to get my body block before I continue. This is our back block, and then this is the front block. For the back block, you can decide to just do a straight and that, but I'm going to show you if you are going to do that's straight and regular waist that, but I'm going to show you if you are going to open it from the top. If you are going to run a straight and that from the shoulder down, I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll cut open our pattern now. As you can see, this is the front piece. I've not added any zipper allowance to this back pattern, so when I'm transferring on my fabric, that's when I'll add my zipper allowance. I'm going to come like this. This is the important part. You're going to place it. I'm just going to assume there's zipper allowance in order not to confuse those people that don't know. I'm going to take this point like this and then assume that this is my zipper allowance, and then from this point I'm going to place this like this. I'm going to mark on this point. I'm going to mark on this point like this, and then I'm going to come to the down part also like this. I'm going to mark on this down part also, and then I'm going to connect the line with a straight ruler like this. After connecting it with the straight ruler, I'm going to open it up. That's for the back piece. I'm just going to open it up like this. And here is a little trick that I normally do. In order for this part not to budge, I'm just going to take out half an inch or quarter of an inch from the left hand side of my gown. I'm just going to trim out this part like this. I'll trim it up to my bust line point like this and then blend it in. This is just like a little trick that I normally use, and then it normally gives me a very good result. So the back piece is going to be looking like so, and then I have my front piece. Okay guys, so I've now come to the end of this illustration. So if you find what I did helpful, I would appreciate if you would hit on the like and button. Subscribe to Stylish Naija YouTube channel if you have not done so already. So thank you so much. I'll see you in my next class. Bye and have a nice day. And that is a wrap.